All right, guys, welcome back into another PrizePicks video. Going to be touching on the top props in both NBA and MLB today, as well as maybe some tennis. Let's go ahead and get into it. Another good week was in the books last week, especially with yesterday's bet of the day hitting for 5 for 5. Hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that. I know the week was interested in the aspect that really dominated on Tuesday and Wednesday when we had the tacos and hot dogs. Those did not come through. And then what I called the cod fillets on Saturday came through. So pretty solid day as a whole, especially in terms of my picks. So hope you guys had a good week, and hopefully we can start off this week in a good way. And just a reminder, guys, if you've been enjoying the coverage, enjoying the cashing as well, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. All right, let's get into today's games. So what a game it was 2 nights ago now. Derek White, who was, I believe he was the cover boy, I think maybe, but he was on the bet of the day that day. Awesome to see him come through. But looking at today's game, it is a very interesting game. The Celtics are favored to win by 7.5 points. And I know I talked about this in the last video about kind of the Miami Heat being a weird situation for that whole up 3-0 in a series kind of narrative, in the sense that there's never really been an 8 seed in this strange regard where, you know, round 1 with the Bucks, Giannis getting injured in the first game, and then Coach Bud making some mental blunders really due to some personal things that occurred in his life off the court for game 4 and 5. You know, I'm pretty confident if those two things don't happen, the Bucks are probably playing in game 7 against the Celtics right now. The Heat got the Knicks, and then they just, you know, they kind of just got hot and went up 3-0. And then the Celtics finally came through to force a game 7. And so it's very interesting, though, that we are getting this 7-point spread. 7.5 point spread, open up at an 8. What I also find interesting here is that the game over and under is set at 203.5. We have seen the previous games be like 216, 215. Now the last game was 213.5. It's just very crazy to me that they are favoring the under here, or favoring very low scoring here. Okay, so when we look at the cheat sheet here in just a second, we will see that a lot of the unders are the ones that are going to be the way to go with. So let's look at that. And so, yeah, getting into it right now, guys, we will see that of the good over bets that we are getting, none of them are projected to get their over. And I think that's coming down to the game over and under. So in that aspect, the NBA slate today is not that appealing. Like, it's kind of a worry thing. It's kind of a situation in which maybe you'd be better off just betting the unders on an actual sportsbook than you would via PrizePicks. We can see that we do have some discrepancies between the sportsbooks. Okay, maybe Al Horford for over points and rebounds, projected to get 16. The average sportsbook line has it set about 14, still favoring the over there. Weirdly enough, that's probably the best prop bet that we are getting, and I don't like that. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't like that, just given how inconsistent Horford has been thus far this series. And another thing we got to keep in mind is whether or not Malcolm Brogdon and Gabe Vincent are going to play. If Malcolm Brogdon plays, how many minutes will he play? And I would say, yeah, if he still sits, then we're probably just looking at Derek White as a good fantasy asset, as a good PrizePicks player. What I found crazy is that Gabe Vincent did not leave the court pretty much, okay? Played in 28 minutes in the previous game and then came out and played a ton of minutes. And he did that all while being injured. And so I would expect that he is going to be good to go and that he's going to get a lot of run in this game. So with that being said, there are going to be some props that we can find for potentially Gabe Vincent. Whether it's over points, that's probably going to be the one that a lot of people go with just because they see this 4 out of 5 hitting. And honestly, it's not one that I mind because we look at the shot attempts. Like, he was injured last game. He still had 18 shot attempts. Didn't even shoot the basketball well. That was more because Jimmy Butler was struggling. But at the same time, very intriguing in that aspect. And that'd probably be the prop that I would go with Gabe Vincent. So let's go ahead and look at maybe potentially Derek White with Malcolm Brogdon still questionable. His points total is only set at 14. And I say only because, well, it hasn't really creeped up too much while Malcolm Brogdon's been out. And he's been pretty productive as a whole. Okay, the 3-point made has been a nice prop. And it was kind of lucky in all honesty in the last game that Derek White got his over fantasy score because the points weren't there. But this was something that I mentioned. It's that he has been getting a lot of blocks and steals in this series. And I think part of the reason why we're seeing a low game over and under is because of little stuff like this, like players playing good defense, getting blocks, getting steals. So maybe that continues. And obviously playing a ton of minutes That's huge. You know, I think today we're going to see a lot of these players just not leave the court, or leave the court sparingly, especially if Malcolm Brogdon's out. So I don't mind the idea of going back to the well with Derek White. But what I want to do is I want to compare the props that we are getting between Underdog and PrizePicks. You guys know that has been a nice, useful strategy, especially thus far this series. And so looking at right now, like, we are not getting a big edge. So what we'll do is we'll just sort it by the other way here. And now we are seeing the discrepancies. So what I find extremely interesting, once again, is going to be with Jimmy Butler. So PrizePicks is not valuing Jimmy Butler like he's going to go off, like it's a game 7 and he's going to be clutching up. This happened last game as well. So if you think Jimmy Butler is going to have a good game, then what you would want to do is, well, obviously bet the over on PrizePicks. If you think Jimmy Butler is going to have a bad game, you would want to bet the under on Underdog. Same thing with Bam. Like, if you feel like the Heat have the potential to struggle today, given the game over and under, right? I start to worry about blowouts at 7.5 points. Granted, this is game 7. Are they really gonna not play their final rotation? You never know. It'd probably just be maybe 2 minutes short. So all in all, we are seeing though that the edge that we have right now would be either betting the under on Underdog for Miami Heat players fantasy score, or betting the over on PrizePicks. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just touch on some other good props that we're getting potentially for NBA. Nothing really too crazy. I think really this isn't too bad for Caleb Martin, maybe over 15 points. I think it's Derek White fantasy score again, and then also Gabe Vincent over points. I think that's the best props that we're getting NBA wise, and that's kind of what the data is showing there as well. So now let's go ahead and touch on some MLB props that we have available today. So while I'm touching on this, I do want to call it that I have been working on updates for anyone that's a 9to5 site member. Remember, this is just $10 a month, gives you access to this tool as well as the premium golf membership. Been an awesome season golf wise there. So there is just the general sportsbook view right here that you guys can sort by if you want to, just see all the sportsbook odds that are being drawn in. You can also just sort by the PrizePicks view as well, see which ones are going to be the best props for you as well. Also want to call it that someone had asked in the 9to5 Discord chat if I could do this, add a separate tab for the hitting fantasy score, just to make it easier to sort by, because, well, as a lot of you guys know, this has been the biggest edge really that there is on PrizePicks right now, is the hitting fantasy score props. They are hitting at an insane amount. And so what I went ahead and did is I kind of just made a general view. Then I also went ahead and made a best over bets view. And so we can see Paul Goldschmidt once again today is looking like a good one. Based off the average Vegas line, we can see projected to get 10.86 for fantasy score. PrizePicks line has it at 7.5. Projected to get 11.29. That is the best one that we are getting. And then from there, it does get pretty tight. Like, typically speaking, I want to see a high Vegas prop line for the over as well, what they're projecting. Okay, so I want this number to be pretty high compared to the PrizePicks line. That's what I'm more worried about. And so if we sort by that, we can see potentially Christian Walker would be a good prop that we are getting, and then maybe Nolan Arenado. This isn't yesterday, though. I would say it's Paul Goldschmidt, and that's pretty much it. I did also add in another tab where we can see maybe the better under bets are going to be the way to go, and we can see Nico is a decent one there. It's probably the best one that we're going to get. So if we want to bet the under, you guys know I don't like betting the under. It's just not fun for me. That would be one that you go with, and I might try that out. I haven't tried betting the under for hitting fantasy score yet. That might be the move today. And then from there on the day, it's just an extremely tight board as a whole. Okay, so we're not really getting that many good bets at all. It's like, you want to take the risk with Caleb Martin, you could. If you want to roll with Gabe Vincent and them, you could. It's just a very tight day. I do want to take a peek at pitching and fantasy score, see if we have any edge there at all. I mean, no, not really. It maybe just be betting the unders for these, okay? And I don't really love doing that too much. So maybe Tyler Wells for under fantasy points, but that's tight. Mondays, for some reason, are always the most difficult. I don't know what it is, most difficult. So guys, I am kind of just working on this. It was something I found I could do. Try to use this Jaylen Brown points prop with one of these really strong EV bets that we're getting, and literally by the time I get in there, they have already moved them. And I'm like, some of the situations is because it's like a Monday acting like a Sunday where players are sitting out a little bit more. But that's something I'm trying to find today. I've been waiting to find that one that they haven't responded to just yet, and it just hasn't popped up just yet. So now let's get into the bet of the day. So I do want to call it that I do think betting the over fantasy score prop is the way to go, although I do hate that he's going to be coming in off of that emotional high of really just saving the Celtics there. And it's tough for me to see him having that great game again. So if I'm using a prop from this game, I think it will just be Gabe Vincent for over points. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind Caleb Martin for over points as well. We can see he's either been over by a good margin or close to getting the over. Like, it's not a terrible bet there as well. All right, so this is what I'm looking like. Fair warning, guys, I say this a lot, like Mondays for some reason just have not been an elite day for me with PrizePicks. So I'm going light. And I will say, like, these two, they don't exactly correlate that well together. I don't like that, because if Paul Goldschmidt's having a good day, if Arenado's having a good day, the chances are the other one's also going to be getting an RBI or a run as well. So I don't exactly love pairing those two together. So it is a typical Monday slate, going to be a slate in which just reducing the bankroll a little bit, not using as much as we typically would. But that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. That does help out the channel a lot. If you guys want to join 9 to 5, get access to the cheat sheets as well as the fantasy golf product, you can available for $10 a month. Let's have a good slate, and as always, let's keep cash.